Ahoy! Ryan Fullen from the Office of the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning, and we just had another social media brunch. We fed people with information on how to develop mini markets. That's a very small targeted group to go after. We then talked about message massaging, or finding out how to take your message but catering it to that mini audience. And then we talked about methodical mapping methods, which is just a fancy or fun alliteration for talking about being strategic. We covered the whole gambit, and I brought a lot of information from the EDU Web Summit I was in Boston. It was a full house, full of information. Don't believe me, believe people that were here.
I'm Danielle Laxon, Director of Social Ecology Student Services.
And I'm Daisy Escobedo, Academic Counselor for Social Ecology as well.
And we learned so much at this event. It was our first time attending, and one thing that I took away was creating engagement groups and connecting to certain groups on campus and creating a group so that we can like and comment on each other's social media accounts.
Yeah, and we just started trying to reach more students that are undergraduates in social ecology, and our peer advisors are doing a lot of work with that, so I'm excited to take a lot of the information that we learned here back to them and maybe have them join us in the future so that they can learn some tips and tricks as well.
And we will see you hopefully at the next social media brunch or social media lunch. Ahoy! Do you know that it's also hello in Czech? Now you do. See how much you learn, and we're just getting going. All right, welcome to the social media brunch, the sister of the social media lunch, and we're going to have an amazing day filled with lots of information, and there will be some participation on your end. But before that, we have a special celebrity guest here today, who is the sponsor, the person who is responsible for feeding you this morning. So whether you like him or not, if you like the food or the combination thereof, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Michael Denon! Now, if you don't know, you can find him on his YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Michael Denon. That's pretty intuitive. Yeah, you're going to get a Denon selfie, I'm sure. And he's on Twitter, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Selfie himself.
Okay, so I got my chair to stand on. We're ready. Demonstrating that even old vice provosts can stand on a chair. It's really slow though, because I'm old and I have to get my phone to work. Okay, so yeah, where are we here?
Yeah, you don't get these empty desks here.
Yeah.
Let's product placement that way. There you go.
We'll go that way. Okay, now it has to have a zot. So you all ready? You're gonna go zot, zot, zot. 1, 2, 3. Zot, zot, zot. That was so pathetic. Okay.
But here's the thing: you don't want to get a Zot smile, right? They were like, Zot, Zot, Zot.
Yeah. No, you want? Yeah, we're not smiling. We're just shouting Zot really loud. Okay. We'll try that again. 1, 2, 3. Zot, zot, zot. That's better. Okay.
All right. For the old man taking selfies.
So let's see. Today's Tuesday. That'll be tweeted about Friday. But, follow me. I don't have a threat for you guys. I tell the students I'm working real hard as Dean of Undergraduate Education to change the degree requirements that you have to follow me on Twitter or you don't get to graduate. So that's one of those tips, I think, in building followers. I also used to use that in the physics department soccer games. Since I'm old and slow, I would point out to the grad students they hadn't advanced to candidacy yet, and I like to score. Those may or may not be related items, but they might want to think about that. I'm here really just to tell you very briefly about some changes, because my understanding is this is going to be used as an example later today. And so you may or may not be aware that 2 years ago, in a few months, the Chancellor created the Office of the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning, and created the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning position. And I have the distinct pleasure of being the first of those. And what that did was bring together a lot of different things on campus, 2 of which are kind of recognizable entities. That's why they're in white. The Division of Summer Session has existed for a very long time. Gary Mackin was dean. It was always an independent entity, but a lot of people thought it was part of continuing education. It wasn't. Gary just happened to be dean of both. It was a separate entity. But now it does report directly to me and then to the provost. The Division of Undergraduate Education, most people are familiar with. It's been around for a long time. I'm still the dean of that, and so that still has all of its programs and parts of it. The new piece, which took us 2 years to get to this name, the name is new, the pieces are not, took place at people from all around campus in various roles and brought them together into the Division of Teaching Excellence and Innovation. I will probably change its name again next year just for fun and confusion. But one of the reasons we did this is this is an important lesson in marketing. We initially named it the Division of Teaching and Learning. You see a problem with that? What? It's the same as the Office of Teaching and Learning, and nobody knew what was going on. Okay? It was just a bad choice. We were possibly going to call it just the Division of Teaching, but that doesn't match really what's done nationally. So we had two challenges, right? You had one name that wouldn't be recognized outside of UCI when we were at conferences and going around, and one name that would be a challenge within UCI because it overlapped. Now, the other thing we've done is we've restructured it, I think, in a very exciting kind of team way. So we have faculty instructional development, learning experience design and online education, graduate student and postdoctoral instructional development, learning environments and technologies, and then the Teaching and Learning Research Center. This is the only one that's an actual center. It's a center because of the way it was established by the provost as a research center to be like other research centers around campus, only the research is on teaching and learning. And the others are what I would call areas of focus that we have within the division that overlap and work with each other. And we have some of the people leading those areas here today. Matt's in the back for teaching and learning, learning environments and technologies. Megan is almost in the back, learning experience design and online education. I don't think Andrea or Danny are here. So Andrea is our faculty instructional development. Danny's our graduate student. And then Adrian, I know is not here because she's touring Europe. She was going to meet her daughter who's studying abroad, and then her daughter went somewhere else. So she's stuck just in Europe having fun on her own. Is the director of our Teaching and Learning Research Center. So that's where we are. And it's really been a challenge to educate the campus about this structure. Lots of things keep happening. Like I'll get emails, now that summer session is part of DUE. And I have to write back, no, it's not part of DUE. It's its own division. And it reports to the vice provost. Or, now that, well, nobody remembers what the name of this is because it's new, but there are these struggles that go on as to what have you really done and what's going on there. Even though I've sent many crystal clear Zotmails, right, that everybody on campus reads and digests thoroughly, it's been a challenge. So that's all I really had to say. I don't know if people want to ask me a few quick questions, but then I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and the team to move forward as I run to my next meeting, because that's what my life is now. Someone asked me what a vice provost is, and I defined it as figuring out which meetings I can do email in so I can get both my meetings done and my email done.
For the first group, how come you didn't switch the I and the E? To make diet.
So, well, no, we would have had to put them before the T. It would have been the Division of Innovation and Excellence in Teaching. That was thought about, and I just, the thought of a diet just stresses me out too much. So, let me just tell you, there were some staff who lobbied hard for diet. I have been told that DTEI is dangerous because with my Northeast accent, I tend to drop the E and just go DTI. There was an E in there. So I'm working really hard on saying DTEI because we do want to be excellent as well as innovative. I also want to say, I was real nervous about this word. I mean, these are marketing questions and naming questions. I'm a huge believer that innovation for innovation's sake is not a good idea, right? And a lot of things get called and named innovation, and it's overused. However, the name Division of Teaching Excellence and Innovation, when it's appropriate and been proven by evidence, just seem too long. So we're taking a chance and putting innovation in the title. Any other questions? Another crystal clear presentation. Well, enjoy the rest of the brunch. I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
Nice.
Good to go, right?
Yeah, unless as long as everybody got a photo of you up there that they're going to tweet out.
Yeah, exactly. Did everybody take pictures?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah. Come on. This is good.
Take out your phone.
Get something scholastic. Something like oh yeah, Scholastic's
That
hot.
could be scholastic. We're going to do a Zot. Because I don't know what scholastic looks like. A little more this way? Okay. Duck a little, turn my head, good sign.
All right, give it up for the man, the myth, the legend.
I like that.
All right, thank you, Michael, for
Welcome. Have fun.
the most low-energy dean, vice provost, and all the above you'll ever meet in your life. It's refreshing. All right, everybody take a deep breath, feel in that energy, and get ready because we're going to rock. Now close your eyes for just a moment as we backtrack. Don't look at this. Yeah, don't think about pink cats, purple elephants, or anything. Okay, open your eyes. We're back. Now, I want to first clarify that we are not strategic communications. I know you might be in the StratCom mindset because this is where we usually meet. It's an amazing room, and thanks again to Patricia for helping out with this room. Give her a round of applause. Step down. Strategic communications, they are amazing, and they help with these overarching resources and strategies. And, Laura is the new contact. It was Tanya, and now it's Laura. So if you do or don't, if you haven't connected with her and you are in social media to some extent, send her an email today and say, Ryan was talking all kinds of great things about you. I'd love to have coffee, pick your brain, see how you can support what we have. Because, again, the more that you try to communicate with strategic communications, the more they'll probably communicate with you, and it's all about communication at the end of the communication. So this is a great resource for you. Now, you all have, or you should all have, a little clapper board, okay, right here, and action. This is how you put this up, and then action. Everybody get it ready? And Brett's on it. Action. This is for all of your film productions and whatnot. This is great. It's miniaturized so that when you're using your mobile phone, it still looks proportionally well. And it is the contact information on the back is UCI Media. This man back here, Ian Granger, the one with the coolest accent in town, helps to lead this amazing team. And they have crazy resources having to do with video, animation, and drone footage. Now, there are graphic design websites, social media, but that's for those under the umbrella of the OVVTL. So if you're curious and you want something that's on brand, that is done by professionals who are all UCI alums, they're a great resource. And if you don't know about them, now you do. We are the OVVTL. The way that you check in for this is just to make sure you follow us online. It's a simple digital check-in. And as you see, we are on all the platforms that make sense for us. And we'll talk about that a little bit today. If you haven't subscribed for Michael's YouTube channel, I would suggest doing that. We do a lot of video production, and that's great shareable content for you as well. These workshops are recorded. I think we've had, I don't know, more than 10 of them so far, all throughout last year. So there's a teaser so that you can only invest 2 minutes of your time to see if it's worthwhile. Then there's another hour and a half. So these are great resources for new students that jump on board. You can search through the topics, and you can put them in front of a computer, and you can watch over their shoulder, and we can all do better. The training videos, these are short 3 to 4 minute training videos that we've been building out for the different platforms. All the Twitter ones are done, and we'll be continuing to do those. But again, just more resources for everyone. Today's sponsor, the Division of Teaching Excellence and Innovation, which you all know about. So close your eyes because now you know. Okay, we're back. This summer, I went to Boston to the Web EDU conference. It's a specific conference for higher education, social media practices, and whatnot. Ladies and gentlemen, clap for those people who are arriving just on time. So we're just starting. There's 2 seats over there. Don't feel bad to squeeze in. All right, so this was a conference. They're 7 years into it, and I took the 4 days. I took the 8-hour mastermind class. I'm squeezing it all into about an hour and 15 minutes of what I think is best practices. I was also able to get some great templates and some resources that are all in this document that I will share with you, and you get access to it once you finish the feedback form afterwards, and it's in a little pop-up message. So we've had great feedback, but the more feedback we get, the better. So this entire PowerPoint with all these amazing links will be in there. If you do follow me on Twitter, one of the things I do when I go to these conferences is I create what's called a Tweetnado. This is just kind of a fun stats here. I had 302 tweets in 4 days. That reached about 78 million impressions. But per my Twitter, it's probably a fourth of that people that actually saw and engaged. So again, it's just about taking information and sharing it. So if you were to search the hashtag EDUWeb17, you'll find all kinds of information from the conference of people that thought they were valuable information. All right, so here's what's for brunch, other than an amazing breakfast that you guys have had. We're going to talk about making mini markets. Yes, odd. Then we're going to be talking about message massaging. We're going to talk about mapping methodical methods. And if you don't know already, I love alliterations. It's more of a challenge than anything. So these are some concepts that you might have heard about before, but we're going to change them a little bit, and we're going to dig into them. Making mini markets. Has anybody ever heard of mini markets before? 7-Eleven. Excellent. It's also known as the target market. So here's a question for you. What is the difference between a target market and a market potential? Anyone? Big difference. But oftentimes they're confused. Be brave, be bold. Yes, sir?
Target market's the market segment you're going for. The market potential is the potential of the market size that you can potentially reach.
Yes, but the challenge is that most people take those and they blend them, and they think that their target market is all of the potential people that they can reach, right? So for example, on campus, you might think that your target market are all students, and that's really your market potential. So if you think about it visually, it's as though you were trying to hit a bullseye. And there's no shame in trying to hit the center dot, instead of just throwing all the arrows as quick as you can into the target so that you just text something. This is a concept that is this mini market. It's way better to invest your time into a smaller sub market so that you can actually get in front of the people that you want. And I still see time and time again, sitting with folks on campus, all right, before we talk anything, who are you trying to go after? Oh, we want all the freshmen. No, we don't. No. What group within freshmen? There's so many different categories. And then they still go broad, and I ask them, okay, how many people can you actually service? Like, how many until there's a line out the door? And if it's a normal department or a normal program, they might say 15, 20, 50. Like, if I had 50 students show up at the same time, I would break, right? You just can't handle that. So why are you trying to approach thousands and thousands and thousands of students if you physically couldn't even handle them coming out the door? So in this section, we're going to really hone down on the particular markets that we're dealing with. And that is the millennials and those things called the Gen Y and the Gen Z. All right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that, because when it comes to marketing on a campus, they are different. So all students are not the same, and there's some serious differences between those categories. Throughout this presentation, these are real slides from the EDU Web Conference, so it's kind of fun. I'm giving them credit. They know that I'm doing this. They encourage me to take this back and give it to everyone. So they're not plagiarism, and I have the rights to this because people at that conference said take and share, because it's important that you have rights to your images. So just as a reminder, Facebook and Instagram are the largest combined share of students that are on it. So those would probably be two places that you would want to be. Now, Twitter is still important. Not all students are on it, but Twitter is great for what's called social listening, because it's a real-time platform. There's things that are happening. They're happening now, and they happen on the minute-by-minute update. So if there's certain things that you want to be listening for on campus, Twitter is a great way to have them surface. Let's see here, how are students finding you on social? I thought this was an interesting slide. 50% are going to find the channels through your school's website, right? So they might go to the main school and they might find you. So make sure that you have those handles on there. And still, about 4 in 10 are using the links in your emails. So very low-hanging fruit. Look at your signatures. So many times I get frustrated when I just want to contact somebody on their cell phone or via email, or I need a quick copy and paste, and I go to my search and I find the email and I scroll down and it just says like Karen, and I'm like, Karen, you're killing me here, right? Nobody's in here Karen, that was a made-up name. So really low-hanging fruit is having all of your social onto your signature. Now real quick, if you have 4 different images and they all link out, and when it's forwarded, sometimes you end up forwarding all of these images that stack up in your emails. So maybe just consider hot links, right? So there's different ways to do it, but I would think that because people and students are still referring to that, they go back and they're like, what was that place? Let me check them out. 1/3 of students find the colleges on social media planning sites by searching on the platform directly. So if you have or haven't, search the UCI main site for yourself and see if you're coming up. There is a way you can talk with OIT to make sure that you're optimized if you haven't already. This is a fun chart. We've got the GI generation, the silent generation, the baby boomers, the Gen X, the Gen Y, which are also known as millennials, and the Gen Z. So this is really what we're looking at here, and it's good to become proficient at this. Now, when I asked you all to sign up on the RSVP, I asked you about your events or initiatives or programs that you have going on. And just because we seem to be talking about students, don't forget that there are community events. There are alums that fit all of these categories. Well, maybe not all, because we're only 50. But the idea here is to have this collective expansion. So we're going to be focusing over here on these Generation Y and Gen Z. All right, so media comparisons. Millennials, very difficult to say and spell. They use it as a platform to broadcast. So it's more about, here's what's happening with me. We'll get to that in a little bit. They are digital shoppers, so they are comfortable with buying things online, checking out online registrations, and they prefer indirect sales, and they don't watch YouTube ads. They just click, they wait 3, 2, 1, click, go. Generation Z, they use social as a community. It's a big difference, right? They're really more about the engagement, about the conversations that's happening, whereas a millennial might just be a one-sided broadcast. They have social media anxiety, right? FOMO is a real thing. If you don't know what it is, I'm not going to tell you, and then you might have a fear of missing out of what it is. Does anybody know what OTT means? It means over the top, and it's basically a way to any type of communication that's not directly through a TV. So something that it's independent, cable cut from the internet, whether it's a Hulu or a Netflix or something like that, and that's where a lot of people are spending their time. And they're connected online 10 hours a day. Crazy, right? So that's also difficult to say, maybe not so hard to spell. So when it comes to preferences, like millennials like new features, they're feeling Facebook because it's a gloomy place. 88% get their news from Facebook. I'm not going to read through all this, but this is just good references for you. Generation Z, 34% have never heard of LinkedIn, which is a good stat there, okay? Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, and they don't like, they don't like Tinder or Google+. I don't think anybody likes Google+. And probably the biggest reference or resource for them is to go to YouTube. All right, comparing the two, right? They've got a longer attention span as millennials. Generation Z is shorter, and they want to make sure that they think what they're talking about. They are multitasking ninjas. They like to spend money, and they might even skip college. And these are the younger kids that are coming in. These are the freshman class. Millennials, they are multitaskers, not as much ninjas. They like to save money, and typically they do go to college. I have another doc that's kind of fun that they passed out, which is a double-sided for and against here. I scanned it. This went to Boston and back. Okay, so it's here. But again, there's just some good statistics. And the more you know about your market, the more you can miniaturize it, and the more you can target them. This was interesting here for Gen Z. Obviously, I like that fourth one. Now, these images, I'll take a picture, and then I'll use Twitter, and I'll add stickers on top of them, because it helps to direct the viewer to see what I think is important. And also, if you look at a tweet that has an image with stickers and you look at it, it has like a little glimmer across the stickers. So it actually creates a little bit of movement to it, which increases the ability for it to be shared. So I really like this, building their own personal brand online. So when we think about content, how is what you're doing helping the students in their professional and personal development? Maybe we don't really think about that. Right? You might position a workshop as something to go to get better at blank, but if you also position it as something that you can put online and show that it's something that builds your personal brand or is on brand for a student, or even ask a student if they're interested in building the brand, maybe leadership opportunities, things like that. But the more insights that you have, the more you can communicate to where it makes valuable sense for them to go. And being authentic. This is something that comes up quite a bit. Right? It's really about being real. And there's nothing more real than Michael Denning taking 2 shots to make sure that you look real in his selfie, right? So again, there's a difference between fabricated or taking pictures with purpose, I guess, right? If it's blurry and it's a bad frame, it may be very authentic, but the purpose doesn't serve for what you want. So again, there's this fine line between being purposeful and delivering content that is real and authentic, but it takes a little bit of mindfulness to make sure that it hits correctly. This I thought was an interesting visual, and it's basically the timeline in terms of the Disney movies that came out. So I thought this was kind of funny, right? So if you think, a lot of where we came from as an individual is the influences we had growing up. So even including some type of throwback marketing can tie in people. I mean, I know every single song in The Little Mermaid still, okay? I know it. And if you were to do a Throwback Thursday with Little Mermaid, I might jump on it and start singing like Ariel, okay? But the idea here is that, you can relate to people from the content that they consume. Imagine a flyer that has to do with a Disney-themed movie that most of the Gen Z can relate to. Again, when you talk about marketing principles, there's the general and the obvious. But within the general and obvious, really, all it takes is a few steps deeper to get creative. And you might feel like, well, everybody's already done it. I'm not sure how to stand out. All you have to do is just look a little bit and a little bit further and be creative with it. So here's kind of a fun idea. Okay, so let's talk about creative ways to reach these millennials. Now, you can do your own research and spend hours getting trapped into the vortex of the difference between the two. And the reason I just wanted to cover that is because your mini markets are particularly within those newer generations. And so the more you play into those, the more connected you will become. Let's talk about some creative ways of how to do it, because every audience is different. And we've talked, or you've maybe heard about audience personas, right? Customer avatars. And it's the idea of, well, if I have a student and he's a freshman, what does he look like? What is his name? What dorm room is he in? What is his major? Where does he spend his summers, right? We go into these thought processes to find out who that person is. But one thing that was interesting at this summit is they talked about the idea of your advocate personas. And this is the point that I want to drill in here. Who are your advocate personas? Who are the different departments on campus? What is their name? What do they look like? What are their interests? Why do they get up and go to work? What do they hate about going to work? What do they love about their personal life? Because if you now focus on that, you can connect with what I'm sort of calling these power pods. Too often we're just focused on our audience persona. But as soon as you say, well, all these other people are also trying to target this audience persona, what if I really evaluate who all these other people are to then go jump on their train and find some way to collaborate or whatnot? There's too many people that are not connecting or identifying their advocate personas. How many people are tapping into alumni? Raise your hand. Okay, still a lot of hands down. How many people are actually, now this is, I'm going to preface this. When I say you're engaging alumni, it's one thing to want to do that or have that part of your plan, but people who actually are emailing or reaching out or contacting and physically bringing alumni into what they're doing, okay? Faculty, I know we all want to include them, but how many people actually involve faculty in their outreach? Okay? Now, if you don't have your hand up, maybe think for a second. Because the student that is in the major, that is in these classrooms with these faculties, and they're all in a 300 or 400 person room, and they're all attentive, and they all want extra credit, and they all are listening to their professor unless they're on their phone. And it's a matter of tapping into that. So I think there's value in at least identifying if these people could be your advocate personas. Staff. Again, staff have relationship with students. Staff interact with people over 2 to 3 years, and they become super good friends with people. I just recently built a relationship with the president at UCI, and it was because of a referral, and we did a project with her, and I met her on 2 or 3 different occasions. Now she's like my homie. And if I need a favor or I need to introduce her to somebody, I feel comfortable doing that. So again, she's not staff, but that's just an example of leveraging people around you. Students, I think we target students more than think of them as advocates, right? Create an ambassador program or give students leadership opportunity or a way to sort of shine in their own personal brand of what they want to do. Tap into that, right? Thinking of someone as an advocate as opposed to a target. I'm sort of drilling this in because I still think that most of us gloss over this and just think we're just trying to get in front of our students, Ryan. But this is something to think about. And prospects. There's a term that If you don't get them as a freshman, you don't get them at all. But what about the term, if you don't get them before they're even a freshman, you might not get them at all? So are you working with admissions? Are you trying to get involved with some summer recruitment events? Are you trying to get awareness before they get bombarded at the Anteater Involvement Fair, where it's just crazy? Now they have all kinds of people that are trying to get their attention. So this is a fun exercise, the advocate personas. All right, I'm going to change this around. I'm working with TechNet myself, so here's how you solve that. TechNet, instead of going like this, just answer text messages up here. You'll get over the fact that people that think that you're filming. And if you look too much this way, just change it up to the other side. TechNet is a real thing. Real thing, collateral damage. Okay, staying in front of your mini market. Newsletters. How many people here put out a consistent monthly newsletter? Raise your hand. See, we're not even raising that high. I can't even see. Like 5, maybe 4, 5? If you don't have your hand raised, you might be missing out on an opportunity. Now, it's something that maybe not everybody jumps on the first one or the second one, and maybe they don't read the third one, but after your 5th one, your 6th one, after a year of it, after people learn that there is consistency with it, that they can rely on it, that they get used to it, they may not open it, but there's just a comfort level knowing that it's there. So one of the challenges that we have seen is what to do when, and there's an entire schedule, production schedule that goes on behind it. So we've created a production schedule for our newsletter, starting before the newsletter for a call for stories from our constituents, building the newsletter, having it reviewed by proofreaders, then throwing it to our upper management for approval, and then sending out, and then sharing on social, and then regurgitating that content throughout the rest of the month. But the nice thing is we've done all that work for you. So there's an actual template here that you can download. It's basically a Word document, and you can copy the same formula format. You can see how long we're allocating for certain things, but until you have a system, it's very hard to be consistent. So this is something that this isn't an official Stratcom template, but this is something that you can leverage. Share news, videos, events, kudos, student testimonials, media coverage, community events. Again, this is a concept that it's not that if you build it, they will come, but if you build it and you keep doing it, people will learn to look for it. KUCI, how many people have ever done a PSA announcement for KUCI? Raise your hand. Okay. If you're not raising your hand, there's an opportunity for you. And it's as simple as emailing productions@KUCI. And if you have something urgent or something doesn't happen because they are students, you can email Kimberly directly. Now, a PSA is something that the music show hosts have to read once an hour at the top of the hour. And they'll either produce it or you can go in and produce it. And it's a very targeted, localized community that are invested in UCI because it's KUCI. Speaking of KUCI, if you want to be a guest, you can be my guest. I'm approaching my 90th show here pretty quick. And thank you. And actually for my 100th, I'm going to try to get all 100 guests onto a webinar and bring them all in on one show, which would be fun. But the idea here is that I set this up so it can be a voice for people on campus, and it's called Get Notified. So we talk about social media strategy. You can have zero social media strategy, and we can talk about it. It's just more of an awareness for you and the people that you're listening to. Turns into a podcast. You can then repurpose it. The old is still new. How many people actually pick up the new you and check it out? Okay, if I asked that to a group of students, most people would raise their hand. So one thing that we're trying this year is we're taking out ads in the new you. And these are our first 2 ads. Stories wanted, and a wanted professor for smiling too much, for being approachable, and if you find him, take a selfie with him, #DenonSelfie. Okay? Now, when something is in print, then we can take that and we can turn it into a digital post. So we take the ad, we take a photo of it, then we share it on social. It gets people to know that there was an ad, maybe they'll look for it later, and we're doing this as a test, and it's a relatively low cost for the number of eyeballs that you're putting out there. I've talked about this concept before, and I'll talk about it again. I don't care what you do. I don't care what your program does. I don't care what your event does. I don't care who sings at your event. I only care about the problem that you're solving because I'm selfish, and so are you. So if you start to think of terms in that way, and you kind of forget about this, people want to just come to my event because it's awesome, then you'll start to find a way to get people to your event. Think for a moment on one side of the fence what you and your department wants out of it. Yes, you want people to attend, but there's more than that. Do you want exposure? Do you want to find ambassadors? Do you want to find maybe new student workers? Do you want to use the time while people are in the seats to tell them the message that you really want? Do you want to have 1 or 2 really cool social posts about it? What is it that you want, selfishly? And then on the other side, pretend that you're a student. What does the student want? Do they want to just go to a cool event? Or do they want to meet friends? Or do they want to approach and get in touch with someone who's speaking? Do they want to find out how they can get an interview at that person's company who's speaking? You really have to think about what the student wants. And trust me, they don't want to just go to your event. There are ulterior motives. And if you start to think about that, then something magical happens, because when you can connect what you want with something that they want, then you both can be selfish and you both get what you want. And this is a really, really key opportunity when you're talking with students, because they're very, very selfish. They have very little time, and they're pulled so many different ways. You have to convince them that it's something that works for them. And even blatantly, like, hey, this event is totally serving you. You show up and that's what you want. But secretly you're like, that's what I want too. So it's right there in the middle. And this selfish hat is a very powerful tool when thinking of students. So let me give you a real life example. Alyssa from Stratcom connected with me because she's promoting for the Running for Her Life. Has everybody heard of that? Okay. She's having a very difficult time filling the seats. And so I looked at her event page on Facebook, and 16 people liked it, 3 people said they were going. And I said, well, have you reached out to sororities? And she said, well, sort of. And I said, well, when you reached out, what did you do? Well, I emailed them. Okay, well, did you communicate anything other than this is a cool event? She said, no. I said, well, what if you think for a minute, what do they want? And we had this discussion. As a sorority, what would you want? Well, so we did some research. I went UCI sororities, looked them up, and then found that they're looking for professional leadership, for ways to give back. So I said, what if you contact them not with, here's an event I need you to go to, but here's an event with an inspiring woman, and for the sorority who brings the most sisters, you get some serious FaceTime with this lady afterwards, like a 15-minute sit and greet or something like that. And all of a sudden, now that event is more exciting for that sorority than just come with us. Another thing is directly finding people on social and connecting with them. So I was just on Instagram and I saw this. I saw the women in leadership right here. And I was like, oh my gosh, this first picture, I was like, there's like 75 ladies in there, all from UCI. I'm like, this is cool. So I went back to Alyssa and I said, hey, Alyssa, did you contact these people? And she said, yeah, I emailed them. So I went to Instagram, and this is the thing. I said, hey there, I direct messaged them on Instagram. I said, hey there, it's Ryan from UCI. Does your group know about the Run for Life event on the 19th, Crystal Cove? I'd love to connect you with an event organizer. Hey Ryan, we have not heard about that event. We would love to learn more about it. Our email is this. Please send the information to the organizer. Thank you so much. Great, I'll connect you. Yay! Sounds good, Ryan. Next thing you know, I see myself tagged in a LinkedIn. And it says, oh my gosh, we usually do business-related opportunities, but remember, leadership is empowerment. Check out this cool event. Special shout out to Ryan for making this event known to us. And when I contacted Alyssa and showed her the screenshot, she's like, I emailed them. So again, this is not anything other than students might or might not read email. They might or might not be on social. But if you want to get creative, you got to create that personal touch. And as you look at this, I didn't say, come to this event. I said, would you like me to connect you with the organizer? That sounds more empowering than it would be if it's just like, hey, come to this event. Because selfishly, as the women leadership group, if I connect them with the organizer, they're more connected with somebody. Maybe they can get this girl to speak or something like that. So this is a really fun example of how a simple direct message can lead to maybe 60 or 75 more people in the seats. So let's go back here. Speaking of the selfish hat, find out what your mini market wants or who your mini market wants, and then bring that person to speak to everyone. Okay? Has anybody heard of the new Alumni Speaker Hub? Yay, 10%. All right, the Alumni Speaker Hub is a new effort that is just launched in September. It's a customized portal for alumni, students, faculty, staff who have something that they want to say, or somebody or something that they want to, a message that they want to spread. Now there's requirements to get in, and it's basically yes or no. Are you associated with UCI in one way or another? Have you ever made a donation to UCI one way or another? Are you a professor? Are you a student? We are not choosing people based on their speaking ability or what they want to say. We're not trying to quiet people or select them. We're creating a platform for centralized database of people who are associated with UCI that want to speak at UCI. So if you haven't heard about this, check this out. And I'm sure that you want to raise your hand over here. Just when you ate some food, so raise your hand. They're trying to get the first 50 or 70 speakers on there. And as a sorority, you can then post an event onto the Speaker Hub, and then those people can apply for that speaking position, because it's very difficult to engage the alumni community if you don't know where they all are. So this is a fun centralized tool. Back to the selfish hat. If you talk to a sorority or fraternity and say, what kind of people, what kind of speakers would you like, then you can go target them versus the other way around. And then the Greek life. I just went into Instagram and I typed in hashtag UCI Greek life. There's 734 posts. Now this is selfish hat research. I can go in here and I can find out, okay, what are these ladies doing, and why are they all wearing white? Who knows? Maybe I can use that against them, right? In a nice, selfish way. Maybe your next party or next event, it's a black and white party, and you invite them to sort of bring all their white dresses. And maybe now you have an excuse for a black and white party, and maybe that taps into the whole Greek culture, okay? Or a toga party, whatever. So this is just an example of, you could take any one of these people, you could direct message them, and you could ask if they would want to get connected with your event, your program, your initiative. And especially, like, a lot of times they will say what they're selfish about here, a motivational quote for students in a certain way. Use that and tap into that. Okay, there's that example. All right, engagement groups. Now this is actually something that I knew about, but I didn't really know about. And I was recently in Texas at a boutique conference in a mansion. It was a very small group of people that are like powerful social media managers. And this guy named Joshua 40s, he's probably in his 20s, and he just sold his Instagram account with over 4 million followers. Very, very successful individual at a very young age, so we can all be secretly angry, and we can also learn from him. His success came originally from creating engagement groups. Now, when we talk about social media platforms, there's this word called algorithms. And algorithms is what the social media platform uses to try to create more engagement. So it's like a mathematical equation. It'll take what happens with a post, and it will determine whether or not that post is worthy or has a track record of engagement to then put to more people. If you had constant things in your feed that were just lame, pixelated, nobody else engaged with, cropped wrong, you wouldn't be as engaged on the platform. And you've seen it. You're scrolling through your feeds. You're like, oh, that one's cool. Oh, that's cool. Kind of gets you back into it. So the systems create algorithms based on engagement. So if you have the most amazing post and it gets 4 likes and no comments, or somebody else has an amazing post and gets 15 likes, 10 comments within the first 20 minutes of it being posted, the virality coefficient of the second one is exponential compared to the one that you just threw out there. You want to know why your Instagrams are not getting traction? It's because nobody is commenting on them within the first 20 minutes. Same thing for LinkedIn. There's a great 4-step process that your post goes through behind the scenes. Did you know that it's more effective to have the link of your article or what you're sharing on LinkedIn as a comment? Most people take the link and they put it on LinkedIn. And it pulls up and it populates. So what does somebody do? They see it in their feed, they look at it, they'll read the title, they're like, oh, cool picture, I got it, next. Because people are headline readers, right? Instead, a text-only intro that talks about what's happening, and then say, see the link in the first comment. If they want it, they've got to go click on it. Now their algorithm is boosted a little bit. Just that is going to be helpful. So let's say it's exposed to 600 people, and 200 of them are interested enough to read at least the title or see it, and they go and they click on it. That's 200 people that have engaged with your content. So there are people that are trying to work the best they can to beat the algorithms. And this is a tool to do it. Now remember how I talked about the advocates that you want to be personifying, or not personifying, because that's putting human traits to it, like my car, Heidi. If you personify things, give them human qualities, you will treat them better and they will treat you better. So name your cell phone and your car and all that stuff. But I digress. Back to these advocates. If you create a group of people, okay, that you make a commitment, everybody in the group is only allowed to post one thing per day to the group. But the group makes a commitment to jump on there within 20 to 30 minutes, like it, and make some sort of a comment. You will see your boosts or your posts accelerate. So somebody invited me to be part of a LinkedIn engagement group. So on LinkedIn, I was kind of like, I'm not sure really what I'm doing. I'm posting stuff. So there's a thread in the messages. You have group messages together. And everybody gets to do a post a day. And I jump on, I comment. And I've seen my posts significantly increase since that. It's because they're getting comments and likes right out the gate. So something to think about is creating an engagement group. Now, people that are in your same sphere, same whatever. In Instagram, you can use it through the messaging. And I believe you can have up to 15 people in a group message. So you find 15 people and reach out to them and go, hey, you want to be part of my engagement group? Hey, you want to be part of my engagement group? All you got to do is just like and make a comment each time a post comes up as quick as you can. You can have students monitor this. So imagine, like, how many people on average get an Instagram post that gets more than 15 likes every time you do it? How many people get way less than 15? Okay? So if you create an engagement group and you get 15 likes and 15 comments, your thing's going to start seeing more and more traction. And then all of a sudden, you're going to get red flagged in a good way, green flagged by Instagram. They'll be like, these people have a lot of engagement with their posts. And now you'll start popping up in other relevant threads according to your hashtags and things like that. So think about 15 people who can create a little power pod and make a commitment to like and share your own stuff. You'd think naturally that would happen, but it doesn't.
Brian, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
So one group of 15 is enough to make a difference?
No, so the numbers, and Josh Forties was talking about, he would have 3 groups of 15, because typically in each group, on each post, people are busy and have lives, so you maybe get 6 or 7 likes or comments per group. And so he would have 3 engagement groups, post the same one to each one of them, and then he would get that acceleration, and that just snowballs. Right? So this is a great opportunity. How many people would be interested in joining an engagement group? Look around, look around, look around, look around. Okay, hands down. Think about that, and I'd love to see the results from it, because it's working for me, and this is a very low-hanging fruit. You're not depending on the students to create the social proof. You guys are creating the social proof yourself. And let's see, maybe this slide was out of event, but have you heard of the Running for Life event? Yes, and then that slide was supposed to be up. Okay, another thing, promotions, giveaways. Do you guys know about the Sheryl Crow concert coming up? Oh yeah, how many people are going? Okay. What? Well, selfishly, it might not serve them, right? And that's what we have to think about. But for one individual who would like to have 2 tickets, you are going to get that opportunity right now. Ladies and gentlemen, would you like to give your little quick pitch here? Carlin, yay!
Thanks, everyone. Sheryl Crow is coming this weekend, as you all seem to know about. But it's a great way to also, for all of your schools and departments across campus, host people at the event. So let me know. And yeah, tickets are still on sale. Any questions? It's here on campus at the Brunch.
So let's use this as a fun little example here. So how many people in here actually want these tickets? Raise your hand. Okay, stop. Put your hands down. How many people could actually leverage these tickets for their own selfish ways to get people to engage maybe with their content? Okay, so see the difference there, right? So even if you're positioning something as, here's free tickets to a concert, versus would you like tickets to give away to your students for the conference? Just thinking like things go deeper when it comes to the selfish. So for those people, there were 2 people that raised their hands that actually want it, right? 1 and 2. How about we give them both each 2? Perfect. Selfishly, that works for you guys. All right, give them a round of applause. Nice. All right, and speaking of shameless plugs, somebody who, I put out on my Twitter, I said, hey, we're having the social media lunch or brunch. Any of my UCI peeps, yes, I use some, peeps word instead of people, is on brand for me. A little less, a little more colloquial. And so this guy jumped up and said, hey, can I come to this thing? I said, sure. I said, not only that, but I'll throw you under the bus to let everybody know selfishly what's going on for you. So stand up, round of applause for this guy. Yay.
Hey, my name's Larry Tenney. I'm an alum. I don't work here. That's why I asked if I could just come. I'm involved with Social Science School of Social Sciences. And on November 3rd, we're doing a food drive for the Fresh Food Pantry. You can find out more information about it at bit.ly/2017 Fresh Food Drive. And as you know, maybe about 2015 students voted by referenda to fund this $3 it's a quarter semester. I don't even remember what you're on now.
Yes.
Whatever you're on now, quarter semester. And last year at Thanksgiving time, the food pantry actually had to close early because they didn't have enough food on their shelf. So we're all hearing about starving college students, right? I was a starving college student here at UCI, and this is a way to kind of help and give back either by bringing food on the 3rd and dropping it off in the parking lot by the Alumni House, or by going online now and contributing to have us help starving students.
Very cool. All right.
And by the way, I'm going to use these to have social science create a challenge to go online and give, and whoever.
There you go. Look at that. We're learning. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I'm at L10one on Instagram.
Hashtag IRL. Okay, so again, I just want you to think selfishly, right? How can you be doing this? Now, selfishly, how can you leverage that situation? It's going to be a Thanksgiving theme on holiday. You could leverage this not to just come to this event, but maybe your group, your organization, your initiative could gather a team and showcase, look at what we're donating collectively. It gives you another opportunity to talk about it selfishly for you to be a halo that you're giving back, selfishly to connect with those hungry students that you need for your health initiative that you really want to get in front of, actually sending somebody to this event to volunteer, collecting emails. Again, you have to just think a little bit differently. All right. How many people belong to the secret, private Facebook group for UCI? Raise your hand. Woo! Yeah, if your hand is not raised, now you know the secret, okay? So here's the thing. We talked about an engagement group. This is a very informal engagement group. This is a private Facebook group that you can post things that other social media managers can see and share and communicate with. So if you're not in it and you'd like to be in it, just email Laura and say, not only did Ryan say a bunch of nice things about you, but he also asked if I could maybe join the group. We don't want to, yes, let's bombard her. But the more people centralized we have that are communicating, sharing links, we can grow stronger together. But this isn't situated where you have to jump on and make a commitment to like and share and whatnot. I would really suggest trying that on your own as a side. And let's say you get that going, then you can invite somebody else into that group. And I suggest for the engagement groups that you use it on a chat platform, messaging platform on the platform that you want to post. So start an actual message thread in Instagram with those people. And start something in LinkedIn with those people in LinkedIn messaging, because it's a lot easier natively within the system to do that. Okay, I love this concept. Now this, Nikki Sundstrom, she runs social media, I forget where, but at a major university that's had all kinds of challenges in the news, and she's dealt with it very well. But this was one of my favorite quotes from her. Social media is a tool, not a solution. So as you see, it's not just about posting. It's about getting the engage in posts. It's about going in real life. It's about creating hype. It's about the selfish hat concept. It's about all these things. So use it as a tool. It's a great tool. If you don't use the tool, you're missing out. But it's more than just, it's not a solution. It is a tool. Any questions on that? I know it was a lot. Okay, good. Message massaging. Before you go out with your message, you must massage it to make sure it's going to connect with your mini markets. Anybody recognize this guy? Or if you can read? C.C. Chapman. If you want to read a good book and get an understanding of how content works in the real world online, you should read Content Rules. Brilliant. I've seen this guy at Social Media Marketing World. I saw him here in Boston. It's a great read for your own education. Follow him on social. He's got a nice following and shares good information. he went through he was like the main keynote. And so I'm going to go through and take his main takeaways and relate them to things on campus so you can see how they work IRL. So he talked about don't get hung up on the tools and toys. People get so hung up on the tools and toys that it makes it more difficult than without the toys. So here are some tools and toys, right? Asana, Trello, Buffer, Hootsuite. Thanks, Patricia, if you wanted to share, because you're using Hootsuite. You like it? All right. Clap for her because she likes it. Everybody's like, yeah, well, I don't know what that is, so that's okay. Canva, Adobe Spark. So these are all, there's a lot of great tools, but don't get stuck on stupid when it comes to the tools. They are there, and we've all been there, right? You spend time searching for a tool to help you save time, which is wasted time, and then you take time to learn how to use the tool to save time, but that's wasted time. And then instead of just doing something, you're employing the tool to try to do it for you, which takes more time, especially when you're training a student to use it, because they continue to cycle through as well. So use the tools and toys, but don't get totally caught up with it. You need to create content. This seems foundational, but you'd be surprised how many people are not creating content on a regular basis. Now, let's make it easy for you. There's only 3 ways to create content. It's either written, it's either image-based, or it's video/voice. That's it. So find out what your students' core strengths are that are working for you. Find out what your core strengths are. But this is it. Don't overcomplicate it. If there's an event on campus, send a student to it. Have it write a 600 to 800 word write-up on it. Take an image, put an image with it. That can be on your blog. Then you can repurpose it to a post. And then you can share it, you can print it, you can do all kinds of things with it. But it all starts with content. How many people feel, no, I'm not going to have you raise your hand because I don't want to ostracize you. Just pretend to raise your hand if you think you could create more content. Yeah, a lot of mental hands raised. Now there's also tricks and tips for this, which we've covered in other social media brunches, but things like Google Docs. You can use a voice to talk, voice to type, and sit there and talk to your computer for 5 or 10 minutes. It transcribes it, almost 99% accuracy. Hand that to a student to clean it up, right? There's a lot of fun tools out there. Have fun. This was one of his main takeaways. And I point to summer session. If you follow them on social or if you know any of them, like you think about them and they're always having fun. It's fun, it's summer, it's on brand for them. But I see a lot of posts that just don't look like either you guys are having fun or it just doesn't look like it's as fun. And we're on a college campus, so you can like hype up the fun aspect. You can be creative, you can have people jump in photos, you can use silly props, you can do things like that. But that's something that is encouraged, not just for the high school or college or whatnot, but like in the general world, people want to have fun. And if you ask 10 students why they're on social media, I'm guessing at least 5 of them will say, it's fun. I don't have an ulterior motive, it's just fun. I'm in college, I'm looking for fun. So if you really remember that, and if you want some inspiration, check out the summer session. Be human. Again, this goes back to the authenticity. We are in a world where you can filter the heck out of everything, and then that becomes a little bit distant because it's probably not real. And so students are in an environment where they want real. They want human stories. They want real people. If you don't know about it, we launched a website called We Are UCI. weareuci.uci.edu. And we're gathering stories from students to help create humanistic stories and content. Now, you can point students here. They can submit their stories. You can go and pull these stories and use them for your own purposes. It's a way of creating sort of and humanizing the student, the faculty, the staff, as well as startup stories. So here's an example. Here's the ASUCI president. And we interviewed her. We put a piece together. This is a big part of the American Talent Initiative, which UCI is a part of. And there's a 3-month campaign going on right now under the hashtag Activate Talent. So again, there's these other things that you can tap into, but when creating your strategy for these mini markets, if you're trying to target freshmen, should you have photos of people who are obviously seniors or beyond? Maybe not, right? Not everybody associates or really levitates to those perfect pictures. It's okay to be a little goofy. It's okay to boomerang it. It's okay to have some authenticity to it. And you've probably heard that before, but everyone continues to create these almost bland, very standardized kind of templated content, and you try to figure out why people aren't engaging. Ask yourself, is this person really human at the end of the day? Pay attention to trends, but don't drown in them. This is something that we're doing. You can copy the concept, but I want to share with you an example of how we're leveraging trends. Every morning, our team looks through the Chronicle of Higher Education, and we search for articles that might be relevant in some way to UCI. We flag them, we throw them up to Michael Denon. If he likes it and wants to comment on it, he comes to the green screen. He does a 1-minute riff on how that article is relevant to UCI and what we're doing about it. Then we make the video using hashtag Denon Insights. Then we transcribe the video and we turn it into an article. Then we take this article with the video referencing the Chronicle of Higher Education, share it on social by tagging them and tagging the author. Now, what is that doing for us? It's haloing on the trends that are happening. It's putting Michael Denon as an authority figure commenting on something that's relevant and newsworthy. It then turns into a visual from a video. Then it turns into a written, which is like an article. And then, selfishly, what do the writers of the Chronicle of Higher Education want? Content. People to read their stuff. They want people to read their articles. I wrote this article. I want people to share it. I want people to tweet it. Me. So we're giving them what they want. And then we build a relationship with them. And watch, over this year, we'll get Denon in the Chronicle of Higher Education a couple times as like featured as something like that. So it's a longer term play, but here's an example of being creative with leveraging trends. So there was a number of people that have initiatives and things like that. Think of the trending topic around your health initiative or your Alzheimer's event or your cancer research or your study program or your food pantry. Use social listening to find what's happening and then piggyback off of that, share it, give them the credit for it, and now you have that halo effect. Okay? And you can see all of these on his YouTube page, and it just continues to be able to be syndicated. Hashtag Denon Insights. Less screens, more scenes. You cannot see this on the screen, but I did that on purpose because we're talking about less screens and more in real life. Here's a great example. We supported the I Am First Day, which is part of the general awareness of First Gen on campus. But it wasn't just a social campaign. It was like, we're going to rent out the student center. We're going to have a band. We're going to give away 200 T-shirts. We're going to have Post-it notes for people to say, what is it that First Gen means to me? So again, this concept that like, yes, you can be the most brilliant online strategist, but unless there's an offline component to it, you're going to be missing some of that cross-collateral. You had hundreds and thousands of people walking through the student center, and you were creating a virtual live feed of what's happening. People were taking pictures and sharing, and you can just check out the hashtag to see all the social chatter around it. So don't forget about your offline events and think about how you can tie the offline to online. Do you guys have a hashtag for your event?
No.
Maybe think about it, right? So something to think about, right? But that hashtag selfishly resonating with somebody that connects the dots and it all makes sense. And for you guys, if you track it, that's a way to pull in all the social chatter that then you can share and build upon next year and have a whole bunch of hashtag Throwback Thursday content, okay? Here's another example of what we'll do. When you have something that happens or something that's noteworthy, for us it was this DTEI initiative or big program or center division. So we first have a press release. Now this press release hyperlink, Strategic Communications has templated press releases that tells you how to build them. And selfishly for them, they want it written how they want it written. So if you write your own press release and then send it to them, it's not going to be as good as, oh, here's a template, or here's our thing built exactly how you want it off the template. So we build the press release off of the template, and here's a link if you want it, resources. Then we turn it into a Zotmail. Then we also take it and we turn it into an article, which then goes into our newsletter that we share. And then all of the content in our newsletter, we take the individual articles and we share them out for the remaining of the month individually. So I've heard from people, well, I sent a Zotmail, right? Denon even made a joke about it. You can't just send a Zotmail. Get a press release, get it to UCI, maybe they'll send it out. do your Zotmail because some people still read the headline. They're not going to open it, but they might read it. It's another touch of awareness. Then create an actual article with it, with an image, maybe even a video, and then share it in something. Now, if you don't have a newsletter, find another newsletter to put it in. Contact, what is it, the Zotline? They're always looking for articles. So there's different ways to do it, but an announcement starts and continues to build. All right. Big takeaways. My favorite here is create content for the channel which you are distributing, and approach to content and creation distribution strategy should be data-driven. Define business goals, understand your audiences, establish an editorial content calendar like your scheduled production for newsletters or something. Create publishing workflows. That was a workflow I just showed you and shared with you a couple times. Collect and report analytics, test, iterate, and test again. So it's really a matter of finding something that's in the groove. But once it's set, then you're rocking. Asking yourself what your goal is, right? How did you do? You should be evaluated. You put so much time into promoting stuff. What happens after the fact? A lot of people miss that. Do you go back into Twitter analytics and see which tweets are actually doing well? Try to find common threads and then delete them and stay away from them? You can do the same thing on Facebook. Do a Facebook audit. Go back over the last month and look at anything. If it has a low traction, it's kind of like a public fail. Get rid of it. Go back and audit. Make sure that you're testing. Oh, that didn't work. What time did I post that? Let me delete it, post it again at a different time. See if it works. That's too small to read. I like this idea, the trifecta. This is, I believe, the last line in this. It's delivering the right message to the right person at the right moment. That's it. Right. And then real quick, this is a concept they talked about, which I enjoyed. The question of which has more waste, rented or owned? Who says rented is more waste? Who says owned is more waste? Who says they don't want to vote? So I found a really great article that backs it up here. You can read on it. But the best way I can share with you is if you buy a billboard on the freeway and they say 500,000 people are going to pass by this. Are all 500,000 people going to see it? No, because they're all texting and driving, right? So there's a lot of money that's invested into rented. That's a Facebook boost. That is a LinkedIn boost. That is something where you're paying for this advertisement. That's something in the new you. But what happens when your ad stops? What happens when your freeway sign is covered up by a Geico insurance? It's done. You have a lot of sunk costs when it comes to renting. Right? If you rent a house, no tax write-off. It's gone. But if you own your content, and that means people that are going to your site, people that are taking the content that you create, they're like, this is cool, and I share it with my friends. That inbound marketing is what really has a huge value, and you own that forever. So just like you probably want to end up owning a house, you want to own your own content. And it's a cool concept to think about when you're like, should I buy an ad or should I invest the time in creating content? Well, why don't we create the content and then boost it a little bit, but we still have it and there's something that's of value there. Just something to think about. Questions on approaches to these mini markets and massage messaging. Okay. I spent time on getting this one. Mapping methodical methods. Create a strategic plan. All right. What is the difference between a program, an initiative, and an event? Who wants to take a crack at it? What's a program? I think we all know what an event is, right? It happens once. Maybe it happens on an annual basis, like a Sheryl Crow concert. It's an event. What's a program versus an initiative?
Well, a program is specific. An initiative could be a little bit less defined and can adjust as it unfolds.
Brilliant. Give her a round of applause. Thank you. For being so brave to stand up. Here's what I found according to Wiki, right? The difference between an initiative and a program is that an initiative is a beginning. It's a first move while a program is set. So I think this is important because the big takeaway here for you is how do you strategically come up with a plan to promote your event, your initiative, or your program. So if it's a program that is established and continues to be a resource, That's one thing. If it's an initiative like a pop-up shop and it's like, this is a new health initiative that we're doing, this is sort of new, it's starting, we need some support, there's a little bit of an allure to it. And when people wrote in the RSVP, some people actually put initiative, some people actually put program, and some people actually put event. So I categorized everything according to that. So we have under programs are campus resources and leadership. Under initiatives, I categorized it into recruitment, getting to know people, health, awareness, and then events, or straight up events. Now these are, everybody, this is all generated from you guys. These are all the different cool events, programs, and initiatives. But I really like this concept that if you're positioning it as an initiative, that kind of has a freshness to it. You maybe want people to get involved. There's some sort of urgency to it. If it's a program, you can create more of the idea that this is a resource. It's been here forever. This is a program because it's a program. Maybe it was an initiative, but now it's a program. So just to think about the way it's positioned. And from a case study perspective, look at the brand new SSI, Student Support Initiatives. We actually took a higher Chronicle education article about the struggle on campuses to make initiatives seem new, since there's a new initiative every day, and there's 4 pillars to it. So you can read the actual article, which references the Chronicle, but the 4 things are defining success, carving a path for the student, establishing goals and measurements, and communicating and celebrating. Might seem simple, but are you going through these processes? If I were to ask you, what does a student success outcome look like if they go to your blank? What specifically is the roadmap that a student will take once they go to your event? Because I think sometimes we get people to the event, we're like, yay, you're here, then they leave. What is that roadmap? And then establishing the goals and measurements. How do you know in 6 months if this has worked? And then finally, celebrating the people that are coming to the events and continuing that conversation. Then here is this last case study with our launch. So I'm going to go through what we did to formulate our strategy. And I sat through an 8-hour mastermind group going through 172 PowerPoints, 172 slides on a PowerPoint from 2 of the most, this is being filmed, right? 2 of the most amazing presenters. And I didn't fall asleep at all. I wasn't, it was a long day. And what they did is, and I have access to the whole thing, all 187 pages here if you want to go through it. You might need 8 hours. And the idea was, how do you create a strategic plan for a major initiative on campus? And so what I did is I whittled the entire thing down into 10 steps. And then I created our own template of what we use to help launch the DTEI. So if you want the template of what we've done, it's here. You can do what you want with it. But my disclaimer is that this is a dumbed down version from something that, say, the chancellor is trying to initiate across the whole school to an initiative, an event, or a program. And they also had a really cool little building content strategy that was a 2-pager, this thing, which was a fun little exercise, which we're going to do elements of. But if you want this as a resource, you can download it right here. My apologies that it didn't scan well because it came all the way from Boston in my bag. OK, here are the 10 steps. Don't feel like you have to read them all because I'm going to move the slide quicker than you can. But they call it an integrated marketing communication plan. So step number 1, and this is something over the next 12 minutes I'm going to have you step through. So if you do have a piece of paper and a pen, this is kind of a fun activity part. Normally we get into groups. This is one big group of the group. Okay? So think about this. Audit first your web priorities. I want you to rank 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to make a decision. What's most important to you? Is it inquiries and people filling out forms? Is it site traffic? Is it actual appointments scheduled, or is it applications? And applications could be registrations on your event page. Applications could be a Google survey form that you're using to create a mentorship program. Okay, number that, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Think about it. Okay, audit of your social media platforms. I love this one. You have to rank these in order of importance. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you want to build following? Do you want more engagement? Do you want more conversations? Or do you want to expand to more social channels? The challenge is that you probably try to do them all at the same time. So if you prioritize them, you can help to see what your actual steps would be. I really like this idea of prioritizing on your web and on your social, and you really focus on just the first 1 or 2 things. Okay, this is a fun thing that they challenge people with, is your marketing mandate. What are the overarching goals for the marketing plan? And just for the sake of time, what is the single biggest overarching goal that you have for your event, your initiative, or your program? Just one. Think about what it is. And I might throw somebody under the bus if I don't see enough people writing. Oh, that kept people writing. And this is a great example because oftentimes I'll ask people like, well, what are you doing this for? Why would I want to show up? What do you mean? It's Sheryl Crow, right? What do you mean? We're doing a food drive. Like, not everybody is as close to your event as you are. So you've got to be able to communicate why it's important to them. Decision point. Is it important? Is it achievable? Is it distinctive? Is it consistent with your leader's mandate? And making sure that the person who is in charge or the big boss, you have he or she to sign off on it. Okay, target personas. This is the mini market. So important. Are you considering age, geography, household income, ethnicity? Yeah, household income, sure. Like the students that can't afford, that would make sense for that being part of it. Okay? Or students that can't afford and they have a selfish want to give back. Like you always reverse engineer the selfish element of it. And here are the questions, right? Who are your 5 audiences for the year 1? And then year 2? And then year 3? So I thought that was an interesting idea, right? Right now, who are you going after? Next year, maybe you bring more alumni into it. Maybe the following year, you try to work with some endowments or something that as it grows. Because if you just try to get everybody involved at once, then not everybody feels special, and there's not that organic traction or movement that happens. Okay, target geographies. Geographies on campus. If you're approaching freshmen, have you visited their freshman dorms? Have you taken a tour to see what kind of conditions they live in? As you're walking down the hallways, do you notice that there's an actual pin board? Do you see that there's something in a glass case with 17.5 by 11s? Have you knocked on the RA and asked them if they have a newsletter or a Facebook group? These are geolocations. And if you are trying to reach freshmen, but you have never taken a tour of the new facility or of the older facilities, you really are not targeting them. And I can't stress that enough. Get up out of your chair, take an excuse for a walk, maybe a soda loop, and stop off at different spots. Build that relationship. A DM for a staff member is knocking on their door, right? So you have to reach out. But geography is on campus. People don't think about that. If you think of like these students right here, this is a certain geography. You could stand out there with a sandwich board and be like, you're my people. Maybe actually made out of a sandwich. But again, thinking of this, right? What are the locations on campus? If you were to have a booth, you get to choose from the student center, all these different areas. Engineers stay with engineering. A lot of people avoid Ring Road. Okay? The timeline of the launch. So this is a snapshot of what our template actually looks like. And we broke it down into this: internal communication and external communication. Because even if it's an on-campus event, if you engage the community, there's more of an awareness. People do live off campus. There are community support sponsors, things that can help you out. So internal communication. What do you do prior to the launch? What do you do on the launch? And what do you do after the launch? So to give you some ideas, we broke down like actual with what we're doing with dates and things like that. Situational analysis and competition. The good old SWOT analysis, right? Your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. Whatever the last one is. What? Threats. Threats. Okay, so your strengths, right? Your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this is like even looking at the obstacles that you have within internal communication, within these other advocates that you are understanding that you have on campus, right? If you haven't gone through a SWOT analysis of your event, program, or initiative, you are missing things because people are looking at you going, they're seeing the weakness, or they're not seeing the strength, or they're not seeing you at all because there's another threat that's right in front of you. This is a cool concept too, is when you're evaluating your situation on campus, I love this. You have a circle of concern and you have a circle of influence. The circle of concern is stuff you have no control over. So be aware of it, but that's it. Your sphere of influence is where you can actually get things done. But then we build on that. because this is an amazing square here. There are things that are easy to accomplish and high impact. There are things that are difficult to accomplish and high impact. There are things that are low impact and easy to accomplish, and then the granddaddy, difficult to accomplish and low impact. So if you're not asking yourself and evaluating what this is, you can spend a lot of time on things that have 0 to low impact. And this gets back to the 80-20 principle of like, before you start running down this waterfall trajectory of starting here, 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 and here, maybe you go to sororities first and you spend, like, because I asked Alyssa, I'm like, how long have you been doing this? Like, months. They've been trying to bring this awareness. And it always comes down to last, like, scramble. So what if you invested into the mini markets, into defining, into the geographies, into these spheres of influence early on, so that then it's not a last-minute Louis kind of thing, or that you build the trust along the way. Love this, though. Ask yourself, because I know a lot of us operate in this because it's a great excuse to have a lot of work because I'm stressed out, I don't have time for other things, and when you do it, it doesn't have as much impact as something that you could have done in less time just before that. Situation analysis, and again, here's just a way to do it, right? What sources of competitive advantage have you classified and things like that? All good stuff. This is cool. It's a little aggressive for me, but this is cool. It's an action plan template. Look at this. And maybe this is something you structure for yourself, but you put into a form for a student, right? The goal to be supported, description of the action plan, your target audiences, beginning, ending, budget, and then assign to, how and when to evaluate. You could do this for writing an article. Give the person a $10 pizza budget to boost. They can use that budget to their discretion and get 2 tacos when they go eat so that they write better because they're not drained because students starve. But giving a guideline and then giving empowerment to your students or to your staff or your team with a plan, how do you follow up, how do you measure? It's just the simple stuff. One of my favorite quotes and concepts is that successful blank, and we're going to put anything in here, successful UCI social media marketers. Okay? Successful UCI social media marketers are not successful because they are doing things that no one else can do. Successful UCI social media marketers are successful because they're doing things that everyone can do, but not everyone does. Hands down. Stop looking for the hacks. Stop looking for the tools that will just shortcut things. There are so many basic things to hold on to your clicker. But if you just hold on and don't get all fancy with it, you will see that your slides progress just like everyone else. This is a cool concept for branding. Marketing. Brand awareness through social media, direct marketing, social ads, banners, flyers, in real life visits, digital email, internal communications, keeping people informed, mini mission statements for marketing channels. Each of your social media channels, you should have a little mini mission statement. So instead of saying follow us on blank, be like follow us on blank because here's what would fill your selfish needs. Branding. This is what I like. Brand marketing is not the look. Brand is a promise expressed as a benefit that your target audience values, aka selfish hat. Brand is valued and differentiating promise. A brand is a valued and differentiating promise. Okay, so these are the things that you should be evaluating when it comes to your brand. Most important audiences, sounds familiar, many markets. What need are you meeting? I don't care what you do. I care about the problem that you're solving for me. And what is my perception going into it? What does Gen Y and Z think about Sheryl Crow? Who? Right?
Luckily not our target.
Okay, good. Fair enough, right? So something to think about. And then this is the last of the list that I thought was most important, and it's defining key roles. So just a simple yes or no. I'm going to ask these questions about your event, your program, or your initiative. And I want you to be loud, and you're going to be drowned out by everyone. And let's see. How many people have, do you have a champion, yes or no? Yes. Okay. There's opportunity for champions, right? Find the dean, find a vice provost. Will you be our champion for this? Because if he does it, maybe there's this leadership sense. So that's a huge opportunity there, okay? How many people, do you have a sponsor, yes or no? Yes. Okay. Sponsor is a person that runs interface, so they might be the person who works with the calendar of your champion or something like that. And do you have a steering committee or task force? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Now, what does this do? This brings people in, and you sort of feed them, or you have this sort of round table. You get different perspectives, but then you actually have people who are helping you to look outside of what you're doing. Do you have, for your event, or your this or that, do you have a faculty senate component to it? Yes or no? Okay. Fair enough. And then, do you have a planning team? Yes or no? Okay. So it's just you. It's kind of tough. So there are the 10 steps off of an 8-hour day of how to create a strategic plan. And what's exciting about this is it's nothing groundbreaking. But if you really get to the fact and the terms and accept that it's not about being groundbreaking, it's just about breaking ground every day, that's how you're going to see consistency. That's how you're going to stand out. That's how you're going to become top of mind. That's how the right students at the right time are going to read the right message. And then you will have the biggest problem of finding a space that's big enough to facilitate your event, or an office that can facilitate a large number of students lining at the door, or an initiative that people are actually excited about, creating social chatter on, and wanting to share so they can get help. And again, as a reminder, you can do the full outline, or you can use a template. And then this is one of my favorite slides of the entire conference. This is exactly what happens when you're too worried about what somebody else is doing. And if you want to be Michael Phelps of social media at UCI, stay in your own freaking lane, swim as fast as you can, and when everybody else is looking at you swim by, and you get to the finish line, then you'll be like, okay, I'm here, like I'll help, right? Now again, granted, we want to help. We're all in the same pool with this analogy. We're all swimming towards the same goal. But if you are constantly spending the time figuring out what everyone else is doing without actually doing it yourself, you will not win. At least you will not beat your personal record, and you will not win 8 or 9 or 10 Olympic medals, whatever you end up doing. Okay? Look at that. That's just an angry look. Damn! Okay, so for next month's social media brunch, and as I'm moving forward, because I had so many people like, Ryan, I wish I could come, but I just didn't have the time, or I have a standing staff meeting, that there's going to be a doodle. And next month is weird. So I have basically 3 days before the break, 3 days after the break, an event at 9:30, 11, or 12. Right? It's either a social media brunch, breakfast, or it's a lunch. So just to get feedback from you, I would appreciate it if you could fill out this doodle. Now I'll send it, blast it to everybody, but this will be really helpful. And if you're not familiar with doodle, it's a great way. You just say, this is when I would be available, and I can get a room size that is appropriate and make the most people be able to experience this live as possible. No time for questions because we're right on time. All feedback is good feedback. And I will be sending this amazing PowerPoint with lots of references. And the only way to get it is when you click submit for the feedback. Selfishly, we need the feedback. So nothing is too crazy. It's just getting your feedback on it. And that's it. Let's take a group picture. You guys don't have to move, so it's not as chaotic. One thing that Denon forgot from a selfie standpoint is that if you go long ways, like this, you get everybody. So let's do this. I'm going to get a picture of all you first, and I'll sneak in a selfie. So good angled here. All right. We'll do the Zot fingers, but I'm not going to make you say Zot so you can smile. Okay? All right. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. And then now we'll see if we can rock something like this. Okay. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it. Rock on. This is Ryan Fulland signing out. And before you sign out, follow us on social, like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And we will see you, if you want to learn more, at the OVVTL.UCI.edu or something like that.